Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to BBallBreakdown's podcast. I'm very pleased to have Joe Goodman, who's the Miami Heat beat writer for the Miami Herald, to come on and talk to us a little bit about what's going on in South Beach with this season. So, Joe, thanks for coming on. I understand that you're having some issues with the weather right now, which is strange, I guess, because you're usually in Miami. What's happening?
Coach Nick, I am not in Miami right now. In Boston, flight was just canceled. Huge snowstorm right now, a foot of snow. So hopefully I'll get to Detroit tomorrow and catch up with the team for tomorrow night's game in Auburn Hills. But if that doesn't happen, who knows? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make it, though.
Let's get into the Heat a little bit, because obviously it's been a really weird year compared to the last four. With can we say his name on this podcast, who's not there anymore, or is he allowed to be spoken of?
I don't know, man. Go ahead and go for it.
LeBron James is not in Miami anymore. So you still have Dwyane Wade. You still have Chris Bosh. Let's go actually with the more exciting storyline these days, which is Hassan Whiteside. Where did this guy come from, and why hasn't he been doing this before?
He is like manna from heaven right now for the Heat. This kid has just had a huge breakout month in January. His numbers have been off the charts. He averaged a double-double in January, and he only played 23 minutes a game. He came from the D-League. You know, he dominated the Heat's D-League team, the Sioux Falls Skyforce, and then the Heat signed him the next day. Before that, he was in Lebanon and China twice, you know, and he's just one of these late bloomers that has figured it all out, and it's got to be the most remarkable story as far as breakout player from nowhere in the NBA since Jeremy Lin.
I watched the game a little bit against the Bulls, and I know I tweeted out just the guy was awesome. I mean, it seemed more forceful than when like Serge Ibaka blocked shots. He just seemed to be even more of a presence there. You know, has he talked about that? Like, where did he get that? Because I feel like this would have been something you don't need to develop as much. You would have had it right out of college. Yet, is this something that he kind of learned how to do, or is it just he's finally getting a chance?
No, I mean, he was a great shot blocker at Marshall. He had the most blocks in the NCAA there that season before he came out for the NBA draft. It's just coming all together for him right now at this point. He has those tools that you can't really teach, the quickness, the length, and his aggression is exactly what the Heat want right now.
Well, I'll go through some numbers. I just kind of threw some stuff up here, like how the Heat started the season versus when he started to play. And you certainly see it in the offensive rating has plummeted a little bit. It went from 103.5 before he got there to 97.7, which is not great.
By design.
What's that?
Right? By design, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I suppose you wouldn't want to see that much of a drop off. That said, the defensive rating went from 106.6 to 100.1. That's 6 points a game. Their net rating is still negative, but it's a lot shorter. And obviously, the rebounding numbers are just 20% rebounding offensively to 24%, and then the rebound percentage overall is 46% before he got there. Now it's over 50. Well, what's funny? If we can maybe we can talk about the Eastern Conference as a whole. At the top, all of a sudden, there are some viable teams that you would say could probably do a little bit of damage in the West as well.
I think so. But then at the same time, every sports writer I've talked to is like, I don't know about the Hawks, man. They could lose in the first round. I mean, I don't know who they could lose to in the first round at this point. But there's still some skepticism out there, I think, for these Eastern Conference front-running teams.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Hawks' record, though, against the West is really, really good. They've lost twice and they've won. They're 13-2 against the West. So, if they were 5-1, I'd say okay, we don't know. But 15 games is not a small sample size against the West. So I'm kind of sold on the Hawks. We've already done a couple of breakdowns on them. The Heat are next, actually. So I'm actually to kind of really dive into some of that footage. Chris Bosh, it appears that he's posting up a little bit more this year than he has. Is that, I'm assuming that's by design as well?
He started out that way, but now with Whiteside, he's kind of gone away from that. He's had two terrible shooting nights back-to-back going into Detroit tomorrow. So, Bosh is kind of in a little bit of funk. Maybe he is adjusting to the emergence of Whiteside, along with everybody. And that's kind of just been the MO of this team the entire season. There are so many moving parts. I mean, they started the season with a completely different style of basketball than where they're at now. Spoelstra had to completely scrap everything mid-season. And, they have Whiteside, and then they start to finally get used to what they're doing in this slow-down offense. And then Dwyane Wade goes down. And, I mean, let's face it, Dwyane Wade is their best point guard.
What happened there? There were moments when Chalmers was the best scorer they had in the finals, 2 years ago, the first championship. I've seen Cole be a lockdown on-ball defender, be able to make a play or two on offense. But what's going on? It doesn't quite compute because I've seen them do much better than what's coming out of there now.
Total inconsistency. That's all. They just can't be consistent. They have great nights. Mario Chalmers will have Super Mario nights, and then he'll have Wario nights, as they call him in Miami. As far as Cole, I think maybe some of this trade talk has affected him these last couple weeks because his confidence has plummeted, and he's the type of player that really needs confidence to excel in the NBA. Chalmers is the exact same way, but he has a little more experience in the league than Cole. I mean, at this point, they're starting Shabazz Napier, and every other phrase that comes out of Eric Spoelstra's mouth is talking about player development. So if that gives you any idea of where they're at this season, at this point in the season, then that should. And they have this kid, Tyler Johnson, now, who's on a 10-day contract. And, in the last 2 days, Spoelstra has just given very strong statements and indications that this kid might be with the team for the rest of the season. Like after the victory against Boston, he called him a two-way player, and then today he said he was the model of player development in the NBA. So,
what does that mean exactly? You think?
I think that means in the modern day setup with the D League and affiliations with the D League, I think that means Tyler Johnson is the model of where they would like that to develop, further. And so this is a kid that they signed. He was undrafted. He signed him in for summer league. He played both summer leagues with the Heat. He went through preseason training camp. He almost made the team. He got cut. Sioux Falls Skyforce signed him, so he stayed in the Heat's development system. And so basically he's been with Heat coaches since June or July.
Okay.
So that's what he means.
Don't forget, to hear the full-length interview, head over to the website or iTunes and subscribe to the B-Ball Breakdown podcast.